oh, the chocolate came from Indonesia. No, but they really want to know the culture. That's why talking about food culture is very important when we're talking about like food scene in general, because culture itself contributes a lot of things. Even when to watch TikTok, you shouldn't be ashamed. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be that serious into digging something. Yeah.
I think I really wanted to see more people be unapologetically Indonesian. So my main mission is to get people to start reading again, like back into reading.
Wait,
to like...
that's shelf therapy's mission. Get people to read. Hi, welcome to a special Shelf Therapy podcast series brought to you by Oppal and in collaboration with Ubud Food Festival, recorded here at the beautiful 25 Hours Hotel Jakarta. I'm your host, Laxmi, and today we will dive deep into the world of food and books. I'm so excited for our discussion today about food and books. We've already chatted a little bit, and I can't wait to know more about what you read and what you cook. But before all that, I'd like to just get to know you all a little bit better, and for everyone watching or listening at home. And so maybe I'll start with Mbak Arimbi. Let's start with you and your...
Because I'm the oldest.
Well, actually, any of you really. I'd just like to know about how your food journey began.
Well, it's a long story with me because I belong to the older generation, and I think food with me started like very early in my childhood, because in the old days, I'm sure in every household we have mbok koki, a chef, a tukang masak, who stays with us, in the house, and she would cook daily alone, so no helper, just on her own. And because my parents work for the government, so they're so busy, and I'm the youngest of the family, so most of the time I was alone. Coming back from school, because all my older brothers were still, either hanging out or still at school. So I would hang out in the kitchen. Basically, that's the beginning of my love story with food. And I would watch her, I would watch my mbok koki cook, sayur bening, sayur asem, kue kuping gajah. I don't know if you guys know that.
No.
You don't know that because you're so young.
I'm sure it's called another thing in Bali, though.
Elephant ears.
Elephant ears.
Because they speak English in Bali.
So basically it's just like cookies, but so vanilla and chocolate dough. And,
Together.
Together. And you roll the dough, and then you cut them. Roll the dough, and then you cut them into rounds. So round doughs, and then you just bake them.
So you have two different colors, right?
Yeah, two different colors. Yeah. So my love for Indonesian food started then. Combro, all the traditional Indonesian food, bubur kacang hijau, bubur ketan hitam,
So good.
and sate and all that. So all the good things about the good old Indonesian food. It all started from there.
So you've been in the kitchen with your mbak koki since you were young, and like cooking every day, helping her prepare and learning.
Not helping her, I'm just like
just observing.
Maybe like observing.
Because I would help. I grew up with obviously sometimes I would cook with my mom, but then helping the mbok di rumah masak, or just looking and learning, but also watching a lot of food shows and reading cookbooks.
We didn't have food shows then. TV was still black and white, and it was still only airing at a certain time, maybe from 5 p.m. till 11 p.m. or something like that. So no cooking show, no books.
No books.
Because books, this was back in the 70s. Books was quite rare. Unless my father or my mother were traveling abroad, then they would bring back books, and that would be a privilege for me. But we moved to Austria when I was 8. So, you know, that was a big jump for me. Because then, you know, I had the whole privilege to go to libraries at school, you know, even to the public library, and even go to bookstores and look for cookbooks mostly.
You know how Sundays are for slowing down? Well, your Sunday just got a little upgrade. Copa Restaurant at the 25 Hours Hotel The Oddbird Jakarta is doing Sunday brunch with bold Latin American flavors, super vibrant and really fun. And the best part, it's starting from 489,000 plus per person. Honestly, it sounds like the kind of brunch that you'd want to linger over.
And our bokoki came with us. So every day we would still be cooking Indonesian food. I remember my mom, every time we had a dinner party at home or cocktail party, inviting all the diplomats and, you know, foreign guests, you know, my mom would sort of invite the ladies of the embassy to come and help cook. And, you know, I would see them do the dadar gulung, you know, all the mini cocktail bites that they would do, you know, kue mangkok, dadar gulung, lemper, wajik, you know, in small bites, and that would totally fascinate me.
That's such a beautiful story, actually, of your childhood.
It's quite a fairy tale.
Yeah,
kind of thing. And it's like
I love it. And how about just books that aren't food related, like more literature? Were your parents encouraging you to study a lot and read, etc.?
My dad, he read a lot. My mom liked to study, actually. She was quite ambitious, so she studied a lot of languages. She spoke French, German, Spanish, Dutch, Indonesian, English. So yeah, I think coming from that background, in a sense of, you know, where my parents encouraged me a lot to read, and, you know, having studied in an international school, and also, you know, that shaped my likings of books, because, you know, like it or not, we had to read a lot. We had to do a lot of research. It's not like, you know, it's everything is given on a plate.
Yeah.
So we had to study, we had to do our critical thinking, so that really, you know, shaped my environment of, you know, the love of books.
And did you travel a lot after moving to Austria after that?
We traveled a lot during my stay in Austria, you know, because it's Europe.
Yeah.
It's easy access of travel to Italy, to Germany, to France. I mean, we were so lucky, you know. I feel very privileged. And then my father became ambassador to Spain. So that was also, you know, a good time being in Spain and learning the Spanish food, the Spanish culture, you know, and the language also. I moved everywhere, basically, to the UK, to the US, and back home.
So you were abroad for quite a while before moving back to Indonesia. But then the food connected you always to your home.
Food always connected me. Like when I was in Vienna growing up, because I went to the international school, so I had a lot of international friends coming from Palestine, Lebanon, the US, Germany, France, Japan, everywhere. You know, we always, after school, you know, we would always hang out at each other's home. Like I remember, you know, I had an Italian neighbor who went to the same school as I was. And during summer, we would go and pick strawberries. And then we would bring the strawberries home.
Such a fairy tale.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
And then her mom would make strawberry jam out of the strawberries that we picked. And then she would tell us, you know, you can make anything. You know, with strawberry jam, you can make cookies, you can make cakes, you know. And if we go to our Lebanese friends, for example, then, you know, we would see that their mothers would make fresh flat bread with duka or the spices on top of it.
Yeah.
It's so yummy, you know.
Yeah.
And if we go to our Indian friends, for example, then we would feast on curry because there's always curry in the house. And when they come to our house, they would eat lumpia.
Lumpia.
Yeah, for snacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of a thing. It's.
Yeah.
I think growing up for me, I was surrounded a lot with the culture of food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's, for me, your story just embodies the true luxuries of life, where you go and pick strawberries and you cook with that. It's just
True.
so like decadent.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you guys can do that here. Like you pick mangoes, or
True.
right? You make mango jam or mango chutney.
Yeah.
I mean, your stories remind me of my childhood too, because I used to bake a lot and cook a lot and eat mangoes a lot during
But
mango
which
season.
country do you think influenced you the most? Because
Influenced me the most
Yes, on your cooking.
in terms of food.
Yes. So
I think UK.
right.
By the time I was in the UK, I was in my late teens, early 20s. So UK has always been a melting point of international culture, right? So my friends there were Greeks or Italians, and French also.
Right.
And I think it was then that I really I told myself that this is what I want to do actually.
That was sort of your turning point,
That was my turning point.
realization. And so in the UK, did you study culinary or
No.
worked maybe?
No, because in the old days when you studied, you don't really, when you go to your parents in the old days, right? In my days, and then you say, "Dad, I want to study culinary," and then the answer would be, "Oh, like where are you going to work? You're going to work in the kitchen, stuck in the hotel kitchen. You won't see the sun, and you won't get a husband." That's what they think, right? So I studied art history. I took a lot of workshops, cooking workshops. So yeah, that was a plus. That was the plus point of being there, right? Yeah.
That's super nice. And how about you, Mbak Tissa? What was your childhood like in terms of your relationship with food and books?
I think I always been a foodie.
Always.
And then in high school, I really wanted to be a chef.
Nice.
But I didn't have the courage to tell my dad, because he's like, you have to be a doctor, a journalist, it's the very
See?
staple.
The same, right?
The same, yeah. I didn't even have the courage to just tell him that I want to be a chef, right? But and then I took law. So I've been following my mom. My dad is a doctor, and my mom is she's a lawyer. And then, what the heck? So I'm just gonna follow her because I'm not allowed to do what I want. But then I've been practicing lawyer for 8 years before I started Pipiltin.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but then of course I always love to cook. During my work as a lawyer, I always find these weekends to bake because I love to bake. I can cook, but of course not as good as you, Mbak Bimbi. But I love to bake. And then I found this beautiful chocolate from Switzerland, and then they got the beans from East Java, and that's it. And then I need to follow, my passion since long time ago. And now I have to have the courage to tell my dad that I want to be work in a food industry.
So from baking to finding chocolate from East Java, that was really the starting point of Pipiltin?
Yes. I think it started organically because I just changed my living room to chocolate room, and buying marble table, putting some more AC because it needs to hold like 20 degrees Celsius for working with chocolate. So yes, very little changes, and then as long as I work with chocolate, I'm so happy. Like there's, I was happy working as a lawyer. I don't have any complaint other than the working hours. But I love being a lawyer, and I love. I feel like we can be creative in any fields, right? You don't have to define one field. But since food is my passion, so when I found this, when I changed this room into a chocolate room, it's like an epiphany somehow. And then I know Indonesia was the third largest cocoa bean producer in the world. and it was like shook me a lot. Like what? I didn't know this. Like there's no like premium chocolate by then in Indonesia, in Jakarta. But there's a lot of like hotels using French chocolate, Swiss chocolate, using Indonesian beans. So then I talked to Irfan. Irfan is my brother. He already started with coffee, with Anomaly coffee. And then he said whenever he goes to coffee plantations, he always found these cocoa plantations because the altitude is lower. Yeah, and then why not start with chocolate? And then, interesting. But there's a huge jump, right? Yeah. And my dad is quite strict, and I never think of not doing anything. So if I want to change job, I need to make sure that I'm doing my best effort to know the industry and how I can make this a success. Right? Then before Pipiltin, I went to Switzerland to take a master chocolatier certification to make sure I can make chocolate as good as they can make chocolate, even better. Why not? Because the ingredients is from here. And then I went there, and then after I came back from Switzerland, I talked to Irfan. I don't think we can make this. It's like very. It's not a rocket science to produce chocolate, but it's very delicate. There's so many processes. So it's a long process. So when I came back from Switzerland to see the whole process of making chocolate, and I said to Ivan, let's just start making like a pastry shop, not like a chocolate factory, because I
You were discouraged a little bit.
Discouraged a little bit. I intimidated by the whole process, and then Irfan said, but we need to create the market now, otherwise there will not be a market for a premium chocolate. So he's the one who's giving me the courage to really start on establishing Pipiltin.
That's incredible. And I see that Pipiltin has really influenced the chocolate market here in Indonesia.
Thank you.
But then with your childhood and food, you've always been a foodie. Did that come from your parents or just from you personally?
Yeah, I think it's come from my grandma, because he can cook the whole neighborhood.
Oh,
like,
wow.
She can cook she cooks like, she's a excellent cook, like great cook. I don't know what any kind of food she cannot make. It's like it's very good. The taste is very good. I think, and she always took me to, Cawang, to Tanabang, to anywhere in Jakarta, to Pluit. We never hesitate to go to anywhere to search for good food. So I think it came from there.
And she taught you baking as well?
Not really.
Oh, that just came from yourself?
It came from books.
It came from books?
There
we go. Let's talk about the books.
From books, videos, short videos, YouTube and everything. And I really want to... Because recipes, just recipes, right? You need to understand the ingredients. Like the best ingredients is everything, as of course Mbak Bimbi knows better than me. So when I see these recipes and I try the recipe at home, it tastes different. It's like it tastes not as good as I picture it to be. And then, why is that? So I try to tweak the recipe a lot. I have already like 5 cookbooks that I write like by hands now.
Oh,
like my secret cookbook baking.
Unpublished.
Unpublished, of course. Okay. It's just like handwritings.
Right? to be.
To be. But there's one like this big book that I wrote, my favorite recipes. So
I see.
From there I cooked this Black Forest cake using the chocolate from Falkland, from Switzerland. And it became my family's favorite. Every birthdays, I have to bake that.
Wow, Black Forest.
Can
Black
we
Forest.
And also,
I'm not sure mine is better than yours, but
no.
And also, FYI, I love to sell like products. But I heard your Dubai chocolate is better than the original Dubai chocolate.
Really?
Yes. So we're all gonna have to like try it. But anyway, speaking of writing and food, we also have Fabi here from Kepayang. So I would love to know more about your journey towards you now with your sort of career in food and writing, and how Kepayang kind of started.
So I think I have some similar stories with like Mbak Bimbi and Mbak Tissa, but I'm also very thankful that my parents, I think it's also because like they're in the younger generations and they're like very accommodating to when I'm talking to them about like how I wanted to pursue this industry. So I remember I say to them that I wanted to go to like a culinary school, and they actually wanted to listen to for my reasoning before like I went there. And I remember I told them that, oh yeah, I really wanted to cook and wanted to be a chef, but even though that they're more open to listening, they're also want me to like think realistically. So what they ended up having me to do is to do like a short course first before going to my course, like the full course in Australia, which is Le Cordon Bleu. And so I went to like a 1 month. It was a pastry course in Fatmawati in Titan actually. Yeah. So I spent like a month like working, like learning how to do pastry there. And that moment I realized that I don't think I am made for like a physical like cooking job. And like I'm very amazed of like how people can do it, but it's just not for me. But I think that point I realized that I like to work with food, but maybe cooking is not the only options that I can do it. So that's I think why also like I started writing. But in terms of like how I gained my interest with food, it's actually started with my grandmother. I think it's very similar to Arimbi's story. I actually spent time in her kitchen back when I was I think 9 or like 10. My grandmother was used to run a catering business. She made a lot of like cookies, like from kastengels, kue putri salju. But I didn't help her like in making those cookies. She instead like have me do something else, which is like folding boxes for the cookies, or like labeling the topless. And then from there, like I observe like how she cooks, how she manages her team, and I just like gain sort of like amazement to how she was working with food. So yeah, I went to like a culinary school in Australia. I started back like after graduating back in Jakarta. I started working in an office before, but after like several years, I feel like I wanted to be more closer to like my interest, which is food. So that's where I first initially started making TikTok videos actually.
I see.
So I used to be like a video creator in TikTok, so I do a lot of cookings there. So I sort of like use cooking or like food as a medium to tell stories. For example, I remember how I used to make martabak when I was in Australia, but a lot of like ingredients, even though it's technically the same, like cheese is the same, like I use also chocolate, it tasted different. I think it's also like what Tissa said.
But there's always that one student from Indonesia that's making martabak. There's always. Yeah, that's you.
And so from that video, I eventually made a conclusion that even though like the ingredient is the same, where the food is coming from makes a huge difference. So I do a lot of like sort of like I would say like a video essay back then, but then like throughout the time I feel like the short format content feels like a bit disposable, and as a creator I feel like it's very limiting for me to like put my thoughts into like 45 seconds or like 60 seconds videos, and I like to overshare. So
I see.
Eventually I decided to start like a newsletter because it's for me to like express myself more thoroughly, and it's less pressure for like the audience to not finish it like in one go, because like they can like read it in their own pace, right? So yeah, in Kepayang now I do a lot of writings, essays, articles. I talk about a lot of Indonesian food, and mainly more on the stories how they actually came into our tables. So for example, when we're talking about, I used to write this essay talking about bakwan sayur, and essentially I debunk it or like expanded it explaining into how does this bakwan sayur eventually came to our table. And it's a very long process if you think about it, because the flour came from Australia.
I see. Yeah, yeah.
International
International bakwan.
I mean, wheat is not a local Indonesian ingredient, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like how the palm oil is dominating, and how the veggies are like the prices are still very vaguely being regulated in this country. So those like sort of issues are important to talk, but sometimes it's a bit too heavy for us to talk in like a coffee chat.
They just want to eat bakwan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
can
that's
you
why.
just give us a bakwan?
That's why I choose like bakwan sayur as my medium.
But I love that you're inspired by your grandma to do the pastry course and then culinary school. But where did the writing come from? Were you like an avid reader as a kid as well?
I think it maybe came from my mom because she's actually like a lecturer. So right from like I'm in my elementary, I remember that she gave me like this monthly budget or like maybe monthly slot to buy one book. So every month we would go to like to the bookstore, and I would choose like a book, and then she will ask me to like read it and like tell her like what did I just learn from that book. So I mean the habit of reading has been there since like maybe my elementary.
And how does reading like books, food related books, cookbooks sort of help you in terms of writing and also running Kepayang?
I think I gained a lot of like inspirations from books, mainly from like I like to read like a balance of like local authors and also like international authors. What I like about reading books is that sometimes it gives us like new perspective that we didn't realize that it's there. So for example, I used to this is not a book, but like it's used to read an article about how a Portuguese chef he realized that the way he cooks spices is different with how the French would cook spices, because French, especially when talking about sauces, French doesn't want it to be broken.
I don't want it to be broken.
Yeah. And then this Portuguese chef realized that
You have to say it like that.
in a like French accent. And this Portuguese chef said that, I just realized that this is different with how the French cooks. And that point I realized that this is actually the same with Indonesian, and if not like with Southeast Asian cooking in general, because like when we're like cooking spices, we do it until like the oil splits until the.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I think reading gives me like a lot of not necessarily like new perspective, but just like perspective that's been there, but I just never realized it's there.
Well, in a way, you write about food history with the way that you mentioned about bakwan and using wheat and ingredients that are not Indonesian. You must have some sort of resources and source of information to know and to write about that. And so it's really interesting to know where you find that inspiration from.
I usually sometimes I get too technical. Like I read like journals, like academical journals. Maybe that's also because like my mother, she made me like get used to like reading a lot of like articles, like journal articles. But sometimes I also just watch or read something like magazine. I love reading stories on magazines. TikTok videos, even like short videos about like how these moms cook this sayur lodeh would be like different with like this moms. It's interesting like to see the comparisons, like the differences.
And Mbak Arimbi, I know that you read a lot of cookbooks. You've also learned a lot from in real life experiences. But what kind of books do you really enriches your knowledge for food?
Well, like you said, I have a whole load of cookbooks collections at home, and it's funny because we renovated our house last year, and so my husband wanted the library to look in a certain way, color coded.
Wow.
So he started moving my books, and I was like, no, no, because you know I get really upset when I cannot find my books because I know where I put my books and I know to which category the books are, like the Asian cooking, the baking, the European, you know, the technical, the non-technical, blah 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 blah. So, you know, for my daily food, I like to be inspired from Donna Hay, for example.
She's Australian, yeah?
She's an Australian,
Yeah.
yeah. And, you know, when it gets to technical, maybe I would read cookbooks from Raymond Blanc from UK, or even Heston Blumenthal, or even El Bui, Ferran Adria from Spain. It's not that I would copy the recipes, but you know, their recipes would inspire me to do something to incorporate maybe Indonesian ingredients with the Western technique, or vice versa. And of course, you know, I have to do a lot of the R&Ds also, and a lot of times, you know, I was surprised that actually I can incorporate, you know, Western ingredients and Indonesian technique, or you know, Indonesian techniques and Western Indonesian ingredients and Western techniques. So yeah, I mean, reading a lot of books and going to their restaurants, and if I had the opportunity to speak to the chefs himself, you know, of course that would be a big bonus.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us more about the Le Manoir or Cassaison?
Oh, le Cassaison. That's my favorite.
And you did chat with Chef Raymond.
Yes.
Raymond Blanc.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that
so
like?
Chef Raymond.
What was that like?
So okay, Chef Raymond Blanc. He's I think a 3-star Michelin. He has this compound in the UK in Oxfordshire. So it's about an hour and a half from London. He has a cooking school there in his restaurant, and he has a small hotel with maybe 12 rooms, you know, for people to stay there and, you know, have their wedding parties, or even stay there to do the cooking class. So the last time I was there, I went and, you know, just casually I asked whether the chef is there. And apparently, oh yeah, the chef is here today. And so, oh, can I see him? Is it like, you know, is it possible for me to see him? You know, I wasn't expecting anything.
Yeah.
And he came out, and you know, he sat next to me, and you know, he was like chatting with her. And you know, I was at awe, and I was gaga talking to him because he's not God, but he's like somebody.
An idol.
He's like an idol to me. So, you know, he started talking about where I was from, you know, he started asking me, and I said, I'm from Indonesia. And then he started talking about, the Indonesian ingredients, the mangoes, the coconut, the kaffir lime, you know, leaves and this and that. And he started improvising a recipe, you know, out of the blue. And he said, I'm going to make one for you. Why didn't you sit here, you know, just enjoy the food, and, you know, you really inspired me. I said, no, you inspired me. No, but you coming from Indonesia, it's so exotic, you know, talking about the ingredients. And I said, can I come to your kitchen and, you know, have a look? Oh yeah, please. And so he took me for a kitchen tour, and, you know, totally amazing, you know, with all these young chefs working there and working all the magic. And he showed me the his fridge, you know, his walk-in fridge, and, you know, his butchery, and you know, he just received this fresh lobster from some parts from Scotland or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was blown out. I was blown away, you know.
That's an incredible experience. That's more than just a chat.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I spoke to one of the head chefs. I said, oh, yeah, you know, I bought one of your books. Oh, I think that's the only book. I bought your book when it first came out, and it inspired me to do my charity dinner for Singaporeans a couple of years ago for 300 people. And he said, oh, how can you do that? And I showed him one of the recipes from the book. And I said, this is the way I did things with the Indonesian ingredients, but, with your technique and your inspirations and all that. Oh, that's amazing, So it's, that way there is interchangeable culture experience, you know. Whereas they see things from the European, from the British point of view, and I see things from the Asian, from the Indonesian point of view of how to cook and how we do the presentation, the palette and the plate, the plating. So, things like that really is a big inspiration for me. Or even going to a restaurant here, for example, if I go to Essa or if I go to Hans's restaurant, August, and seeing them cook, it just lights up my eyes, my face. My family, my husband would say, "Oh, look at it! Look at her! Her face lights up every time she sees the kitchen. It's like, it's totally true.
Yes,
because simple things, even simple things in the kitchen, it really lights up my face because I feel happy seeing. Because I feel that food brings people together.
Yeah, that's true.
At home, we eat together as a family. Conversations are happening over food, and you can even talk about the food as a subject of a conversation because there's always stories behind the food.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love to hear that because we just had a young chef here, Valian from Kindling.
Oh yeah, amazing.
And I asked him about why he decided to become a chef. Basically, was it because he loved cooking as a child, or is it his love of food? But it's actually, what he said was mostly about how it pleases other people, or he loves to see them be happy eating his food, basically. I would like to know more about your love for food. Like, is it just because you love to taste the flavors, or is it because just it's something that you had as a beautiful memory, or what is your love for food? Because a lot of chefs love to make other people happy, right? Like Chef Raymond was really, you think he's like a god or this icon or idol, but actually he loves to connect with people, to talk about food and to sort of like share with them what they have. So
I think it's the whole ecosystem, in the sense of why I love to cook is because, first of all, I grew up, like I said, I grew up with koki in the kitchen. And, food has a lot of history. And I love history. And I love to read. And, of course, I love the gatherings. I love to be with my kids. Even until now, my kids are grown up. My eldest is 34. I'm an old. I have 2 grandkids, and I find that food brings people together. It's not so much of a that I want to be appreciated through food, but it's more like because I really want people to get to know more about what they do and in their daily activities. Like you sit together, you say, how's your day, and what have you been doing, and you talk about that over food, right? And also because I like to read, so I like to also put what I have read into food. It's the same thing like if you're a painter. What you read, what you see, you translate that into a painting. I translate that into food.
How about any ambitions towards Indonesian culinary or cuisine? Were you ever thinking like, oh, I want to take it to the next step? Or what did you hope for, like the whole food scene here?
basically, this is how I started. You know, in 2009, I think I joined the ranch market, and they entrusted me to do a lifestyle studio. So it's a small kitchen where young chefs gather. And so, you know, all the young chefs, we just graduated then, you know. Arno Purnomo Yuda Bustara, even Kevin Rasumantri, you know, Putri Miranti, Fernando Sindu, you know, and all the young chefs, they all came to the studio, and, you know, we gathered together, we do a lot of entertaining also. And so that was an early goal for me, you know, to expose all these young talents to the Indonesian market, that, you know, they are serious about what they do, you know. And I think it's amazing. And having said that, you know, as time flies, I mean, it's been more than 20 years, well, not really, 15 years. And I think now, when I see the younger generation, I feel encouraged, and I feel that there is hope for the Indonesian culinary, Indonesian food to be known internationally, you know, with chocolate and coffee, through chocolate, coffee, even through writings, you know, stories and things like that. And we are in the pipeline with the tourism ministry to do Wonderful Indonesia Gourmet, which is happening this year. So hopefully it will, you know, continue to run within the next 5 years or so. So this year we're going to invite international medias, you know, for them to entice, to taste what Indonesian food gourmet is like nowadays. I mean, you get a lot of medias talking about the street food of Indonesia, and I think it's about time that the world gets to know more about the serious culinary scene in Indonesia, you know. That we can bring that abroad, and I think that's very important also, and an important aspect to you know, to start.
Yeah, just basically what's still what's happening here, what's happening around Jakarta, Bali, and other places in Indonesia.
I mean, Indonesian food is very rich. I mean, you know, with chocolate, you have a lot of chocolates from everywhere, right? And even better than the chocolates you find internationally. But it's not well exposed, because the stories are not there yet. And we need people like you, you know, we need younger generations like you guys, you know, to do that.
And for example, with Pipiltin, I'm sure you're also not just making chocolate, you're also sort of innovating chocolate. What do you think are, you know, the biggest obstacles in terms of that chocolate world, in terms of not just making chocolate, but also getting the world to acknowledge how good the quality of the chocolate is in Indonesia, not just the raw material, but also the final product?
The thing is, it's not in our culture to eat chocolate, right, in Indonesia. So that's
it is now.
It's now. Hopefully, it's getting there.
Sugar.
Sugar. So it's not our culture to eat chocolate. So when we started Pipiltin, that's why we start with a chocolate cafe. Because even though we already produce a chocolate bar, but we didn't immediately sell chocolate bars, because we see like the consumption is still very low of eating chocolate in Indonesia. So we are trying to introduce like more premium Indonesian taste of chocolate by having this chocolate cafe. And we're having like this avant-garde kind of desserts with 23 kinds of ingredients. We are working with chefs from all over the world to have like a proper kitchen for producing these beautiful desserts. So when they eat, for example, we have this special menu called Tabanan Farm Chocolate, because we got the chocolate from Tabanan, Bali. and then we named this menu Tabanan Farm. There's a rocks like the one in Pantai Nyanyi. So it's like we try to replicate that kind of beach with big rocks with chocolate truffles and the seashores and everything. And then it became one of the best-selling desserts of all time in Pipiltin by that. And then, by the way, it's Bali chocolate that you're eating. You know, we want the people there to get familiar with the dessert because they're already familiar with desserts as a concept. And by the way, the chocolate you're eating is chocolate from Bali. So that's what we're trying to do.
So you're really putting Bali on the chocolate world map as well. Not just Bali, the whole of Indonesia. And do you sell any of the Pipiltin chocolate abroad, or do you know any, maybe, I don't know if you sell to restaurants or professional kitchens?
Yeah, we also do B2B. So here in Indonesia, we sell also to coffee shop, restaurants, and we've been exporting to Japan since 7 years ago, to Russia before the war, to Malaysia, to Singapore, to Australia. They're interested in chocolate because of the distinctive taste of Indonesian chocolate. So the thing is, we have 17,800 highlands or so, and it has different microclimates, so it has different taste of chocolate, just the same as coffee.
Like wine with the terroir.
Yes, exactly. Really based on its terroir. So for example, chocolate in Bali tastes more like a fruity, strawberry kind of taste. Chocolate from Papua tastes like more umami, nutty. It really depends on the micro origins, microclimate. That's why we're also working with Osaka University in Japan to divine whether Indonesia has these diverse flavors, because we want people to get to know and to have trust in our own product. So, and they already have a conclusion, and they also studied other origins, other major cocoa bean producing countries. So cocoa from Indonesia, because we have so many islands, and those islands have different ages, right? It produces different kind of taste, a very diverse taste. So from their conclusion, we have the most diverse chocolate taste in the world.
That's amazing.
So because of there's so many islands, then so many things.
And have you personally felt the difference of the reception you get regarding chocolate from the international audience, let's say?
For example, since so we have a yearly event in Japan, so they have like a chocolate expo in Osaka yearly. It's a very big event there because chocolate is very big in Japan. And then we always have this chocolate seminar and workshops with 300 to 400 people trying to differentiate single origin chocolate, and we bring chocolate from, of course, Bali, Papua, wherever, and they try to differentiate which kind of chocolate came from. And then from there, the chocolate in Japan mostly produced by these companies from countries in Europe or the States, right? And they got the beans mostly from Africa. So the taste profile is basically more or less the same. So when they taste the chocolate from Flores, with very distinctive taste, is spices, coffee, with spices in terms of star anise, cinnamon, and everything, they got out like, what is this?
What is going on?
What is going on?
Yeah.
It's very
Where
different.
is this chocolate coming from?
Yeah, it's so different with the chocolates in the market. So that's one angle. And another angle from our experience is we really need to know, like, for example, in Japan, they're really interested in culture, right? They're very cultural. So the reason they're buying our chocolates is not only the taste, but the culture. Balinese culture, Flores culture is also helped us to promote the chocolate, because of course they know Bali, of course, and then they really put a lot of trust and feel about Bali. They have a good feel about Bali, and then what is it like for women farmers working in Bali with this beautiful lush forest, and what they really want to know day to day, schedule of these women farmers. Not necessarily they appreciate, the chocolate came from Indonesia, no, but they really want to know the culture. That's why talking about food culture is very important when we're talking about like food scene in general, because culture itself contributes a lot of things.
Absolutely. One of my favorite books growing up is called Charlie and the Chocolate
Classic.
Right.
And I want to know a little bit more about how maybe books influence you in terms of your work with Pipiltin. Are there anything that you go to for idea, inspiration, or just like to dream, or to what's next for Pipiltin?
Book had huge influence because we are different generations. I had so many exposed to so many books, but not only cookbooks, because I also read, design, art, history. Because that's why maybe you're studying art, right?
Yeah, art history.
Art history, because it really relates to food, of course, right? And I think it's better for like foodie or someone in the industry also have like a more generalist approach to know things other than food, because from my experience that what I'm doing, I'm not only reading like food books, but also like history, design. I love design, architecture book. But in terms of chocolate, my favorite like Bible book, it's a book by Raman Morato. He's the Ferran Adria of chocolate. Like he's Spanish, and he has this book, the book called Chocolate, CH, but it's the abbreviation of chocolate. It's a very thick book. It's a very technical but fun, but so many things in one book, because he's not only talking about chocolate and food, but also influenced by science, by culture, by everything. So,
do you think you will write one day a book?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a dream. That's a dream. If I were to write a book, I would want it to be maybe like a recipe book, but also like a story book. One of the a similar book that I really wanted to write is a book by Rara Sekar, which is titled Buku Resep Kali Urang. So she basically did like a residency in Jogja to talk to the local people in an area or like a street in Jogja, which is called Jalan Kali Urang. And what she did is she talked to the people, research on like how the people there cook, and sort of like rewrite the recipe to document it and like properly like put it in words. I was really moved reading that, because not only that I got to learn how to cook that specific dish, I also got to learn like who invented or like what's the story behind those people. If I were to write a book, maybe I would do a similar thing like that. I would probably do something about the Jawa Timur cuisine, which is where my family is from, which is also actually where the Kepayang names came from.
Oh yes, please tell us more about that.
So Kepayang is basically like a different. It's kluwak basically. The one
The
that
rawon
the one that you
ingredient.
yes.
I also love sambal kluwak.
I love sambal kluwak. That's not a lot of people know that kluwak can be made into sambal.
And it's also
Actually.
have to be made a certain way, otherwise it's poisonous.
Yes. So what my family used to cook in our house is sambal kluwak, and they actually like boil the kluwak first before turning it into sambal. So like kluwak is basically like it's in my DNA. Like it's always there in my home. So when I first started Kepayang, I wanted to have something that connects it to my root, which is from Jawa Timur.
I see.
So yeah, if I were to write a book, maybe something from the Jawa Timur region.
I see. What is Kepayang aiming to go to? Like, do you have a bigger vision in mind apart from the newsletter? And I'm sure your community is, growing, and it's really well connected.
So I think my main mission is to get people to start reading again, like back into reading, because that's something that I also need to like maintain, because sometimes I don't get
Wait,
to like.
That's Shelf Therapy's mission. Get people to read.
Yeah. Because like me as a writer, I sometimes also forget to like set aside time for me to read.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to like get people back into reading. But because of my passion in food, I will of course like write about food, and I love talking about Indonesian food because when we're talking like in a global context, I think it's such underrepresented.
Yes.
I think that's also one of the reasons why I write my essays in English. I use Substack for my platform, which is like a US based platform.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they have like a really strong network of like readers like outside of like everywhere in the world. So I think it's really interesting when hearing comments about people knowing about Indonesian food for the first time. So for example, I write an essay about jengkol last week and how it's such it have like such a bad reputation, and even though that it's native in Southeast Asia, people in the Philippines haven't heard about jengkol. Maybe it's there but they don't use it for
Yeah.
food. Maybe it's just Indonesian, but it's really I guess it's really refreshing for them to read about Indonesian food, but also for me as a writer to, oh, now I make someone else knew about Indonesian food for the first time. So I think that's the bigger mission.
Is there an English word for jengkol or?
Yes, but I don't like to call it because it's called dog fruit
Dog
in English.
Right.
So I would just normalize saying jengkol.
Right. Yeah, that's really great because I feel like we don't have that many cookbooks, especially international cookbooks. What is your take on Indonesian food literary scene?
I think, like I said before, I'm really hopeful and I'm really encouraged to see the young generation pursuing the culinary industry in many perspectives. Like you, for example, you do write journals and cooking and stories basically. And since there's not a lot, I think I would really like to see more the younger generation, dive into the Indonesian and their recipes and journaling them, because otherwise sadly it's a dying culture. I mean, I'm sure people in the industry, they know a lot about the Indonesian food, but if you ask children in general,
Sure.
they don't know much. Maybe they know rendang, maybe they know soto, because it's sold all over. But when you ask them if they know, for example, kecipir, or that's true. Because last year, 3 years ago, we had an exhibition. We had this thing with Warisan Budaya Indonesia. So us from the culinary department, we displayed some pictures of traditional ingredients. And we asked children who came by and, do you know what this is? What are they? They have no clue
No
whatsoever.
idea.
No idea. Even as simple as cloves, for example. They don't know what a piece of clove looks like, They know durian,
Yeah,
but they don't know much. I'm sure
they
if you
probably
ask...
don't know what the durian tree looks like.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you ask, do you know what a kluak is?
Yeah, they won't have any
They
idea.
have no idea. It's like even if I'm sure if you ask children if they ate rawan, do you know where rawan is coming from? Oh, maybe food coloring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised
Oh
if
my
somebody
God.
would tell
Yeah.
that story, or if a kid, a child would answer that. So I think it's very important that somehow I'm really looking forward for some young generation to write a cookbook or a food essay, but Indonesian, or even you, but Indonesian chocolate. I'm sure
Yes.
that would be great. I mean,
Yes.
even people like Ferran Adria from Spain, he quit. He doesn't do restaurant anymore. All he does is research, and all he does is he does a whole library of the ingredients of the world. Of
I've already told Balian, like, you have a restaurant, you're establishing yourself, you need a cookbook. That's so normal abroad, but for some reason here, people don't really come across it or they don't think about it that much, unlike abroad, you know. The established chefs all naturally just, they open a restaurant, they publish a book. They open another restaurant, they publish another book, or they start a show, etc.
I think here it's a matter of survival. You know, survival
that's
issues. It's a big thing, right? So it's the main issue here.
But perhaps that's where your foundation could come in. You know, since you mentioned that you're trying to introduce local ingredients to children, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about your foundation in terms of, are you supporting young chefs?
It's not my foundation. It's the foundation of Ibu Yanti Erlangga. It's called the Warisan Budaya Indonesia, and so they have different departments. So they have the culinary department. They have the music. They have movies. They have wastra, which is fabrics and things like that. So the Warisan Budaya Indonesia is coming out with a book called Sekar Saji. So it's about recipes, Indonesian recipes, and also Indonesian tata saji, which is table setting. So yeah, we'll start from there, you know. And I do have hope in education also, because I think education is very important. And so my partners and I, we have the Kumala Academy, which is basically we teach not so much of the cooking skills, but more of the business side of the culinary industry. So, you know, how to set up a restaurant and you know, how to manage the floor service and the tax and procurement and you know, the marketing and all that. So, you know, yeah, like I said, you know, everything starts with education, and I think that's very important. And I do have hope in the younger generations, and you know, you call them the millennials, the Gen Zs, and whatsoever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to, you know.
Are there any book suggestions, maybe for those who are looking into getting into the world of food or starting their business, or even just like maybe your favorite books?
At the moment, I'm reading a book called Be My Guest. Is by Priya Basil. So she talks about the hospitality, not the industry, but you know, growing up, you know, learning about the hospitality and learning how to help others through food, and you know, what it means to be living in the culinary world. That is an interesting book, but it talks about a bit about politics, so I won't touch that because I know it's a very sensitive subject, you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of inspirational books, gosh, I mean, I'm sure there's so many. You know, there's so many.
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, I think if you are a novice, so if you are starting, I think Donna Hay is a great resource.
I grew up with it.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy.
Yes.
And of course, Martha Stewart, because, you know, she tells a lot of tricks for that. But if you want to go further into more of a technical, then I would suggest, you know, read the El Bui, which is Ferran Adria, and Heston also tells a lot of technique, like as simple as how to make crispy French fries.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you have to fry them 3 times. You know, but you know, Heston tells it all.
Yeah.
So you know, all the small tricks, it's there. But you know, I think it's very, very important for somebody to have the curiosity.
Yes.
To learn, even when to watch TikTok, you know, you shouldn't be ashamed. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be that serious into digging something.
Yeah, true.
You know, it can be as easy as a TikTok. It can be as hard as going to Le Cordon Bleu, for example. You know, I'm sure it's not easy being at Le Cordon Bleu. You know, and you know, or even working in a in an institution such a restaurant, because a lot of people think, you know, being a chef is the glamorous thing.
Yeah.
It's not, you know.
Yeah.
It's like more than 12 hours working, standing on your own feet and
Yes.
chucking oysters and, you know, chopping onions, and, you know, you don't move on until you become really good at it. So, you know, never stop being inspired, or never stop yearning to learn and to want to read. I think I should encourage that, to learn, you know, to want to read. I think that's very important.
True.
Yeah.
True.
No, thank you for that. Are you writing anything at the moment?
I do my Bible writing every day. But
How about the recipes that you mentioned too?
the recipes, yeah, my children have been complaining about it. You know, it's like, Mom, you should start writing. And I said, I keep on saying, no, I have so much things to do. But yeah, that would be my next goal, my next project. Yeah, hopefully, you know, it's not too late for that.
We're also looking forward for your book,
The Secret Book.
The secret book.
The Secret World of Chocolate. And apart from that, what else is sort of next for Pipiltin and yourself?
The next for Pipiltin, I think, you know, when we're trying to you know, to build awareness on the brand, because we in Pipiltin we source the chocolate directly from farmers, like we really care about the livelihood of farmers, but it doesn't really relate to the market. They just want to eat good chocolate, just like what you said. They just want to get good one. They don't want to know where it came from, you know, right? So we learn from experience that if you want for people to be more aware of the brand, we need to find relevancy, you know, what people need, but not losing our value. We still have our value, but how to find relevancy. For example, the champion product in Pipiltin is not chocolate bar, but it's soft serve ice cream. Because Jakarta is very hot, you know. And by the way, the chocolate ice cream, we're using Papua chocolate, you know, but it's still, the value is still the same. We still want to, you know, introduce Indonesian good chocolate, good quality chocolate, but by using different ways. There's so many, just like you said, but there's so many different ways to learn, right? Yeah. There's so many different ways to innovate, to find your core. There's just don't lock in only one ways, but we really need to know our value first. If we know and we are very sure about our value, we can, you know, pivoting and do many things. You know, that, yeah.
The goal is to make Indonesian able to distinct between Balinese chocolate and Papua chocolate.
No, we just wanna just wanna Indonesian for eat Indonesian chocolate. We want Indonesian to eat more Indonesian chocolate.
To appreciate local made chocolate more than the foreign made chocolate.
Yes. It's okay to eat, of course, foreign chocolate. I still for sure eat foreign chocolates, but you just need to know what you eat, you know. If it's Indonesian chocolate, you need to be more aware and more put you know, values on the product, because it's just not a product. When you put values on the product, you put values on the farmers. There's so many ripples effect, you know.
Absolutely.
So what I'm doing at home is I'm in my pantry. I put a lot of books in the shelf, and I put like sofa and like a very comfortable sofa and table next to the pantry for my daughter to read books, cookbooks, because it's on the pantry. And in my TV room, I put like a different kind of books. So she knows when she wants to read cookbooks, she goes to the pantry and sit in that corner. I just change the books quite regularly for her to just, you know. Hopefully she wants to know more about the culture of food. Yeah.
Maybe some book recommendations from you?
Oh my God, so many, so many
What's
books.
your favorite book?
My favorite books? I think the Ramon Morato, because I always come back to that book. There's so many things to read, you know, to discover something from that book. But other than cookbooks, Indonesian book, I love Pramudia Nantatur. And my daughters love like Charlie's and Chocolate Factory. I try to read like so many different genres, because there's when we got these ideas, because sometimes we Yes, familiarity is very important. Relevancy is very important, but we always has to have an edge, right? Sometimes we get that edge from this diverse book that we read.
Yeah. Anyway, coming back to the hopes for Indonesia, before Chef Valian mentioned that his hope is for Indonesians to be more proud of the local cuisine, culinary, but perhaps also local ingredients. And you, as the Gen Z representative here and having a very successful community, what are your hopes for the culinary scene, the food scene here at home?
I think I really wanted to see more people be unapologetically Indonesian. So in a way that they're proud of like what they're eating, and also the way like they show it to the rest of the world. So I think this relates back to what Arimbi says. It's such a missed opportunity when Indonesian tells a story about Indonesian food, but they don't actually use the correct term, or like they diluted it into like some other names. So I see a lot of people like when they're saying rendang, they say beef curry instead, or like soto ayam is like yellow soup. Or like or I saw this one TikTok. They bought klepon and they say it green takoyaki. I was like,
seriously.
So I don't know if they're joking or not, but like
Mochi,
Indonesian mochi.
Oh my God.
So I really wanted to see people like when talking about Indonesian people, they're proud of like just by the name of it, like say the actual name. And I think that's what I wanted to build through my community. So one of the example is I do like a tasting session which is called Icip, and basically I serve like different types of jajanan pasar which I source directly from Pasar Senen, Pasar Kue Subuh. Basically on one plate I wanted to showcase like 8 types of different jajanan pasar, and not like introduce them because I'm sure they know what they are, but like getting them into like the stories of like how they make it and like why they're called that. Because most of the times when we see like klepon or like onde, it's like in a box that you would get like in a meeting or like in an arisan, and you don't really give them like a second thought. So what I do in my community events, I explain it to them like how they're making klepon, for example. It's such a long process. Or like lapis legit, it took like 8 hours just to make lapis legit. And when they know the length, the process of making things, that's when they can appreciate the food, and hopefully that will lead them to be more proud of like what they're eating.
That's amazing. I think we ourselves need to add value to our food and creations because they're very special and can only be found here in Indonesia. But before we finish, because it's been such a delicious, engaging, and insightful conversation this afternoon, I'm really glad to have you all here to share your stories and perspectives. I have just one last question, and it's the same for all of you. It's fun. The question is, what food or drink would you serve at your dream book club gathering?
Oh my god. Food and drinks.
Food and drink. Food or drink. And or.
I would love to serve an iced chocolate, maybe from Pipiltin, but I want it to be like a blind tasting. So like a different cups of iced chocolate, but they needed to like guess like which came from where. And I think this is also it relates to what Tissa says before. I wanted to have a jajan pasar, but maybe also with chocolate, because Tissa just made me realize that it's such a missed opportunity that Indonesians don't eat a lot of chocolate. And that's true in our jajanan pasar, because from on top of my head, I don't think there's any jajanan pasar that have chocolate in it.
True.
maybe lapis legit, but it's just like a slivers of like chocolate. So jajanan pasar and that's chocolate.
Cool. How about you?
Maybe I would have like one savory and one sweet. Not necessarily has to be chocolate, but I want to link it with sound. Sound, because sound. So there's a study called sonic seasoning in 2006 from Charles Spence in UK, and he said if we heard like high pitched sounds, we can taste like more sweet notes. And if we heard like low bass, and the food would be taste blunt and more, So I would love to have like that kind of experience because it's so much fun. And from there, I will tell the story about the ingredients because I get the click first, The clickbait is the experience itself, the sensory experience, and then I'm gonna try to explain like the savory comes from your bakwan, and the chocolate came, and this beautiful dish, for example, cooked by Chef Bimbi, But I think if we want to tell the story, we need to find, what's the interesting part of the experience. So I think food and sound is gonna be interesting.
So creative and innovative and fun. And how about you, Chef?
Difficult question. Well, since I love martinis, so
okay, we can do that.
Yeah, maybe I would love to have lemongrass martini. Maybe something Indonesian, or even I don't know, maybe kavi lime leaf martini, something along that line, and maybe lots and loads of canapes, small bites with using a lot of Indonesian ingredients. Like I would imagine, maybe, a mango tart with lime leaves, or a dadar gulung with rendang, maybe, I don't know, that kind of a thing, just be innovative and a lot of, comfort food in the tiny bites, so people get to sample a lot of different tastes in the tiny bites.
Yeah. This book club sounds so much fun.
We should do that. We should do that.
Yeah, we should definitely do
Yeah.
that. Okay, we'll schedule it later. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having
sharing
us.
Thank you for
everything
having us.
that you have to share. It's such an honor to have all of you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.